very interesting listening to all that has been said about George Fox, because you'll have seen from the snippet which I threw that my six times great grandparents became friends round about 1700. But there was a meeting house in this little place called Hightown, which George Fox stayed at and preached at. I believe it was a very short visit. But the strength of his personality and character, his godliness, the message that he gave amongst all the splinter groups that there were of nonconformists, it must have been so powerful because there were a number of people who were convinced, and then that meeting grew, and by the time that my six times great grandparents joined, there was a meeting house and a burial ground. And it just came through to me that George Fox sometimes gets a bad press about his personality. He must have been an amazing man and have a certain magnetism, even though he may not have been an ebullient sort of preacher in the way that perhaps some of the early Methodists were. Just something else from the little snippet that I put. My six times great grandfather was an overseer. Reluctant the parishes were to look after the poor in their parish, and they worked really hard to spend as little money as possible. In 1710, Robert Crossland and his fellow overseer spent just over the equivalent of £7,000 on the poor of the parish. And that's quite a lot of money, really, when you think back to, I know it's today's equivalent. But it just kind of puts it in a slightly different context to some of the publicity which there has been about how shocking people were in the 18th century looking after the poor of the parish. So it just struck me that that was a rather an interesting statistic. The family, having moved in about just before 1700 to Scholes, were there for over 200, probably around about 250 years. And during the 19th century, a subsequent Robert Crossland gave land for the establishment and building of a meeting house and for a burial ground. So there was clearly a lot of growth, and it was interesting how respected friends were, because they were godly people.